Hi guys, welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at, wait for it, art. Yes I am. Another fork of RawTherapee, or a fork of RawTherapee, or another RawTherapee. Big shout out to Alberto, who's the main developer on this, and I've tried to use this many a time and it's never worked very well on Mac. But big shout out to Richard Barber, Iron, off the RawTherapee and Art Forum, who's actually issued a build that will actually function on my Mac, and function very well and very efficiently and rather quickly. It does. So, without any further ado, shall we go and have a look at art? Yeah, come on, let's do it. Okay, so a couple of things first. I'll put a link into where Richard's put this build, but if you haven't got an iCloud account, you're going to struggle. So fundamentally, I've uploaded the actual file itself to my Google Drive, so I'll put a link in to that there as well. Okay, so I'm just going to get everything started off on this video, and I'll show you why I like art, because it's simpler, lighter weight, and far more intuitive than RawTherapee. It's just got more common sense to it than RawTherapee, and you've got masking. Yeah. Oh, it's not everywhere like it is in Darktable, but it's over here in local editing, and you can do pretty much anything you want to do with the masking inside of art. Yes, you can. Right, so also I'll put a link in the description panel below where you can go and download a bunch of camera profiles which will cover your camera. That's for people who don't have the likes of Photoshop and Camera Raw on their system. However, if you do have Camera Raw on your system and it is fully up to date, if you come to Finder and we go to Library Application Support, rather like that, alright, we will have Camera Raw. Okay, and if we open Camera Raw, you can see camera profiles containing two subfolders, Adobe Standard and Camera. Just copy that folder, just that one, because it contains these other two. Just copy that to your main system profile folder. Where that is on Windows, I've no idea, and where it is on your particular Mac, I've no idea, but just copy it. Okay, or like I say, if you've not got Camera Raw on your system, you can go click on the link below. It'll take you to my Google Drive and you can go and download this folder, which will contain profiles nicked direct from Adobe for your camera. All right, so that's that. All right, so if we come to preferences, if we go to image processing, you'll see for raw photos by default it says dynamic. Yeah, I never use dynamic profile rules. I just don't. It's too much like hard work. But what we've got to do is we've got to make a baseline. In RawTherapee it will be a PP3, which I've covered in quite a few videos on this channel, under the heading of something like RawTherapee Do This First. And it's basically the creation of a base.pp3. But Art doesn't use pp3 files, it uses ARP files. So what we've got to do is go and make a baseline ARP file, which we'll get round to in a moment. Under colour management, I would switch this from displays to back it up to colour sync on the Mac, and then choose profiles and just click open, and that should now say profiles, and we'll click OK there. The other thing we need to do is, if you are seeing very, very small text, if you come into your general tab, and I just leave it set to single editor, tab mode, film strip below editor, just if the film strip gets in your way after a bit, you can always go and close it down. But I put the main font to Helvetica Regular 14 and the colour picker font to Helvetica Regular 13. Alrighty, but that's just about as much as you need to do. So we'll click OK on there. And what we're now going to do, because we'll have to come back to those preferences shortly, is if your output profile under colour management doesn't say Pro Photo or Pro Photo ICC V4, you should be able to go and select that as your output profile, and you should be able to select your working profile as Pro Photo. Okay, now then, I'm going to leave it set to auto match camera profile. By default in RawTherapee, camera standard is the profile that's used, or is there by automatic default. But what we're going to do is do the job properly, and we'll come over to the Raw tab. And I always like to use RCD plus bilinear. Alright, but by default I think you'll find this is set to RCD. So you can please yourself whether you leave it on the default setting or switch it out like I do to RCD plus bilinear. That's all we need to do on the demosaicing tab. We don't need to do anything to the raw black points. We don't need to do anything to the pre-processing. Chromatic aberration correction, we need to turn that on. So if it's off like that, turn it on. Put it on auto correction. And I've always in RawTherapee unchecked this avoid colour shift, because it actually tends in RawTherapee to create more of the colour shift than it avoids. So, you know, I'm just going to leave that unchecked, but I think you'll find it's checked by default. Don't need to do anything there, don't need to do anything there, don't need any of that, don't need flat fill frames. Alright, so we're done. We don't need anything in the crop or resize or output sharpening. Yeah, we don't need anything there. Geometry, don't need. Lens, don't need, because I just don't use lens correction profiles. We don't need anything under the special effects tab. So we'll minimize all these, and I'm minimizing them because this will actually get saved in the ARP base file, that they're all minimized, because it fundamentally just makes your panels tidier. And we'll come over to details. We don't need spot removal. I'm going to leave capture sharpening on, okay, at its defaults. We're going to leave noise reduction on at its defaults with luminance slider, with the luminance slider down at 0. Detail recovery at 0, detail threshold recovery at 0. But chrominance is on automatic, and the automatic strength is all the way over to the right. We don't need anything to do with final smoothing, so we'll minimize that panel. We don't need to use any impulse noise reduction, but we do need to turn on, if it's off, defringe, but leave it at its default and minimize. Come to exposure. If your highlight reconstruction is set to off, put it on color propagation, but don't bother making any adjustments to it. Tone equalizer should be off, tone curve should be off, dynamic range compression should be off, log tone mapping should be off. Come back to color management. As I said, check your output profile is on Pro Photo RGB and your working profile is Pro Photo. Alrighty, so that's just about it. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this little floppy disk icon here and save current profile. And what we're going to save, what I'm going to save this as, is art base. Yeah, told you it was an ARP file, didn't I? Save. Alrighty, but I'm now going to do something else because I'm going to make an other base profile specifically for the Z9. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is switch out to custom, and where it says none, we're going to click there and we are going to come to profiles, and remember I said go and download those camera profiles or install them, and here we go. There we go, camera profiles, and I'm going to go for camera, and I'm going to scroll down till I come to a Nikon Z9, which is there, and we're going to open that, and I'm going to choose the profile that I have sat in my Nikon Z9 camera, which you can see here, and I always shoot this in camera flat. Alright, so what we are going to do here is choose camera flat, click open, and then I'm going to go to lookup table and activate that, so that looks up the proper colours for the Z9, and then I'm going to activate the tone curve, see how much of a difference that made. Right, and then what I'm going to do is come and save this as a Z9 base. Okay, and we will click there, rather like that. Now then, here's the next thing. We need to come back to our preferences, and in image processing, where it says dynamic here on this particular installation, I'm just now going to go to my profiles, and I'm going to actually select art base, okay, and click OK, because I use or bring images and process images off multiple cameras, so I want a broad sweeping base profile that can accommodate most cameras, and then if I find it necessary or required, I can come in and select the right custom profile for the particular image, or if it's a Z9, I'll just go and click on up here as soon as it comes in, and I can go to my profiles and I'll just hit Z9 base there. So that's fundamentally how I've got art set up. Very, very similar to RawTherapee, or the way I have RawTherapee set up. Okay. Now, let's go and have a look at the fun stuff, shall we? Yeah? Alrighty, let's do that. Alright, so here we are. We've got this raw file. You'll find the controls very similar to RawTherapee. Let's go into it at 100%. And there we go. Nice male kestrel having a bit of a snack, striking a bit of a pose. Now then, what do we want to do to this image? Not a lot, really. It's got capture sharpening on, so don't forget where capture sharpening is. It's under the details panel, so we could go and turn capture sharpening off, and it's not making a massive difference, but it is just adding a kiss of sharpness, which is what we want. However, the first thing I want to do, if I just show you this camera again, but the lens, that image was shot with this lens here, which is a 180 to 600, and when it's at 600 it's at f6.3, but it doesn't get any longer. It's an internal zoom lens, so when this is at 600 it's still the same length, physical length, as it is when it's at 180mm. Now, background and bokeh. Everybody seems to think that background bokeh is dependent on aperture. No, it isn't. It is to a degree, but the biggest influence on background bokeh is the actual physical barrel length of the lens. Alright, now if this was a 600mm prime lens, it would actually be, oh god, what, that long? Yeah, a lot longer. And so that longer barrel length just makes it, your backgrounds look so much more smooth. Now the background doesn't look very unsmooth here, but we could make it look a little bit better. And that is what I'm going to do first. It's absolutely stupid simple, because we can take advantage of the local editing system set up in Art, which is so much bloody simpler than it is in RawTherapee, with all those daft stupid adjustment spots and preview AE, and oh my god, it just drives you to distraction. Just watch this. Right, if I come to local editing, you can see we've got four fundamental things we can do here. We've got colour correction, smoothing, local contrast, and texture boost and sharpening. Okay, right, now then, the other thing is that every single one of them has got masking on it. Yeah, it has. So what I want to do is I want to smooth out these darker patches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate smoothing and open it up. I'm going to leave it in a mode of guided, and I'm just going to leave it set to RGB. But look here, mask. We can do parametric masking, colour similarity masking, area masking, and brush masking. Yes, brush masking. So guess what? I am going to activate brush masking. And is our little brush, and so we are going to just click on the brush button and it will go slightly darker. And I'm going to lift the radius up to around about 80, something like that. And just need to check that again. And there's the brush. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just do a brush mask. A little bit like that. You know, I mean, come on, RawTherapee. Why couldn't you do something like that? This is masking made real simple. Now, if you want to see where that mask is, just click Show Mask. Right. Now, we need to make changes to that mask, but I'm not going to make them yet. Okay. So we'll just uncheck that to hide the mask. Don't turn it off, it just hides it. Hides the visualization of it. And so what we're going to do is come to the smoothing controls. And I am just simply going to take the radius up to about 100. Okay. Has it made a difference? Not really. Let's take the details down all the way to -10. And then let's just take the iterations up a little bit. And now you can see we've done an awful lot of smoothing. But you can see we've got this mask edge. Yeah? Show mask. You can see the mask edge is quite literally showing up in the picture. Right. So let's just scroll down a little tiny tad. And let's go to feather. And adjust the feathering control until it goes away. Yeah. Right. Click Show Mask again. And you can now see what's going on. Let's just now go and give it a little bit of smoothing. And you'll see that if we smooth it out, it sort of expands a little bit. So what we might do is just pull the feathering down a little bit. And the other nice thing is, what we can do is make sure we've still got the brush active. We can come into eraser mode. Yeah, get this. Drop the radius a little bit, just in case we've got any yellow masking on the subject, which we wouldn't want. So we can just take it away and just push the diffused edge of that mask back a little bit. And so we now take off Show Mask, and fundamentally what I've done is take the background bokeh of this image from that made by a £2,000 lens. Well, it's sub £2,000, or it was at the time I bought it. I think it's gone up now, but it's, you know, a couple of grand. And now that looks like it's been shot through a £13,000 lens. Yeah, 600mm prime. Just little things like that you want to do. And if you try doing that in RawTherapee, you will be at it for ages. You know, and Alberto's made this instead, and it just makes so much sense to me. I just can't understand why RawTherapee has to be so bloody complicated. I honestly don't understand why. Now then, let us minimise that to save some room, and let's go up to a 100% view. Now, the level of noise that's in this image, I mean, it's only shot at ISO 720, so I'm not particularly bothered about the noise. That noise just wouldn't print at all. And printed out just at its native resolution, this image would have to be printed on A1 paper because it's off a Z9. Okay, a lot of megapixels. But let's just come and have a look here. Alrighty. So if I come to Texture Boost Sharpening and I turn that on, right, notice we've got masking available to us on here. Let's very simply just take up the strength, which you see is at 0.00. Let's just take it up to 0.3. Turn it off, turn it on. It's made a difference. Take the detail scale up to sort of 0.23, turn it off, turn it on. If I go up to a 300% view, you can see this taking effect. Turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. Now don't forget, we've already got capture sharpening turned on at its default settings, and capture sharpening is over here in the details panel, therefore it's not subject to masking. So, you know, now then, here's the kicker. Let's take the iterations up to 2, and now you can see that's really thumped a lot of sharpening in there, hasn't it? Now then, we've thumped it in across the entirety of the image. Let's bring the image out to a fit to screen view. Let's just take it out a little bit more. You might get out. I actually wouldn't advise processing on a black background. So what I would do is switch the background out to there and process on a middle grey. Alright, it just makes the image look more real to you, because you see, I've shown you this before in other videos. If we go on white, the image looks dark and low contrast. If we go on black, the image appears lighter, yeah, and the contrast has changed, which is why I always advise doing the sensible thing and processing on a middle grey. I actually do quite like the little thing in RawTherapee where you can click that light bulb icon at the bottom and throw a white border around it so you can view it in proper ICC viewing conditions, but you know, it is what it is. This is fine for me. Now then, if we come back up to a 100% fit to screen view, you can see we've got all this crucial sharpening on there. I mean, that is mental, but like I say, we've put it all across the entirety of the image, which we don't really want to do. So guess what? If I activate brush masking, you'll notice all that sharpening has gone away. Yeah? That's a cool thing, isn't it? Because it's already anticipating what it is that we're going to do. So we're going to hit the brush, and just with a 10 radius of 10, and we are just going to come and paint on where I want that extra sharpness. Okay, and we can be very, you know, very selective about where we put this sharpness. And of course, if you don't like it, we can do many a thing. First of all, if we go show mask, that'll show us the mask. If we want to feather the mask a little bit and then make it a little bit smoother, we can then drop the opacity. Okay, so we've dropped the opacity of that mask. We can also drop the opacity here as well. Come on. Okay, so if we turn off show mask, we can fundamentally add this sharpening adjustment to taste. And because we're using the brush, we can put it exactly where we want it. How sexy is that? I'm not going to go all across the image, but as you can see, I can come in and paint some sharpness in there. And I want to sharpen the legs and the feet. So what I need to do is I need to come in with a much smaller radius brush. Okay. And we'll just scribble in down some of these straight filament feathers. Okay. And then all I'll do is come down the leg, make a few passes. I don't really want to sharpen the mouse, but I can sharpen the feet because I can put the sharpening on with a brush. Yeah, this is so much like working inside a Photoshop. It's mental. Yeah, and all I could say is, Alberto. Yeah, it's crackers. To be able to do things with this level of ease and precision in a raw processor is crazy. It is. So I've put that level of sharpness on the bird's head, its shoulders, and its feet. All right. Now, what happens if I want to do something to this panel below here, the wooden rail that it's sitting on, or I want to put some sharpness on the food item itself, on the prey item itself, but I want to put it on in a different ratio, or I want to put it on with a different brush. Okay, so all I need to do is to come up here and create another instance. Yeah. And what we will do is just look at the what we're going to do. Let's just look at the wooden railing. I don't, it should have a bit more sharpness to it than that. So we will give it a little bit more sharpness. We'll give it a bit more detail. Yeah. And we'll increase the iterations. Now just say that's what we wanted, but you see, to me it's making the mouse and it's making the kestrel's feet over sharp. So guess what? Hit brush mask and it's all gone. Yeah, and then what I can do is I can come out to fit to screen view, pick up my brush, need to make that a little bit on the bigger side. Yep, come on, where are we? Let's make sure we've got the brush, there we go. And all I need to do is just brush along there. Okay, I'm not particularly bothered about the bottom edge because it's so close to the bottom of the image. But let's go and have a look at the mask. Okay, so we could probably come in there and do it just a little bit more. But remember, I don't want this going on those feet, right? And so all I'm going to do is just feather the mask a little bit, rather like that, probably about 9. Add a little bit of smoothness when we can get it to work. Come on. Yeah, just a little bit of smoothness. Turn the mask off and let's go and minimize brush mask, and let's come and have a look at the image at 100% now. And so there's our kestrel. It's nice and sharp now. and there's his feet, and there's the wooden rail that he's on that has had some extra sharpness added to it, but separately, totally separate and totally unconnected to the sharpness that's been added to the bird. And if you want to see the difference, number 2 is the wooden rail. So let's turn that off. So there it is unsharpened, there it is sharpened, and the bird is on number 1. There's the bird's foot sharpened, there's the bird's foot unsharpened. Sharp, unsharp, sharp. Yeah, how cool's that? And if we basically looking at the image at 100%, all the sharpening operations that we've done there, that's them gone, and that's them back on, and we haven't increased the grain in the background at all. And if we come out to a fit to screen view, don't forget, there's a 2,000 quid lens background, and there's a 12,000. I forget how much a 600 f4 is now for this camera, but oh God, it's got to be 12-14 grand. So anyway, there you go. Art, cool and free. Go give it a try. I actually really like art. I think it's quick, simple, and super intuitive. Alberto, top geezer. Big shout out has got to go to Richard Barber as well for creating this build that's got me hooked on art in the first place. And big thanks has got to go to Mick Batley up at Yorkshire Photography Heights for having such a wonderful hide populated by such wonderful, pretty little kestrels. Yeah, cracking day out. And also big shout out to Stevie K, one of my Patreon members, been a friend of mine for since just after Noah built the Ark, it seems. And yeah, top guy is Steve. Had a really good day, a lot of good crack. Yeah, nice. And I don't mean crack as in stuff you, I mean good old chin wag, laugh, joke, chit chat, crack. Yeah, Irish saying. Yeah. So there you go. Don't know what you think about all that, guys. I shall be doing a lot more videos on this. That's for certain, because I absolutely love it. Yeah. And we can cover all sorts of things, Photoshop integration with it, and looking at all the various other tools. But the majority of the tools that you're going to end up using are all under this local editing tab. Yeah, so we'll have a look at in greater depth at what you've got access to in this local editing tab in another video sometime in the future. Anybody got any questions, let me know. Big shout out also to all my Patreon subscribers, because without the money they subscribe to me they donate to me every month, I wouldn't be able to keep this channel going. So they do get a lot of members only videos, a lot of private one-to-one tuition on there. So if you fancy helping the channel out, yeah, consider clicking the link below and having a look at my Patreon channel. Yeah. Okay, guys, that's it for me for today. So, as normal, stay safe, stay well, keep taking the pictures, and I'll speak to you very soon. See ya!